It's a rainy night in Seoul, and something ugly is going down in a dark alley. Three thugs have cornered a defenseless boy, subjecting him to some seriously twisted and humiliating abuse. Beaten and broken, young Yona can do nothing but curl up on the ground. To these thugs, a kid with no way to fight back is just a toy meant for their sick amusement. Yona tries to spit out a warning, but that only earns him more pain. A heavy boot stomps down, crushing his last bit of resistance, while the thugs laugh in his face. The thugs keep kicking, hurling insults about his past. They mock him for being a runaway, telling him he's destined to rot in these back alleys like a cockroach. Just as the thugs are about to finish him off, a blinding light cuts through the rain. A figure stands there with an umbrella, and the air turns cold. Our boy has finally arrived. He didn't come alone. As the roar of engines fills the alley, the thugs realize they've messed with the wrong crowd. It's not just one guy, it's an entire squad looking for payback. Our boy drops the umbrella, his eyes cold and lethal. Before the bully can even scream, a brutal strike connects, sending blood flying. The real retribution starts now. The battle reaches a boiling point, and the enemy clearly underestimated our boy's ruthlessness. With a crushing blow, the provocateur is sent flying. Messing with the family comes with a heavy price. The thug on the ground finally realizes he's messed with the wrong crowd. He's up against the strongest runaway family in Gangbuk, and they aren't known for showing mercy. As the last enemy is kicked aside, only chaos remains. Our boy, Yim Dajuan, stands coldly in the center, his glowing eyes radiating an overwhelming presence that claims the territory. With the fight over, our boy looks at the battered, apologetic Yona. He doesn't say much, just coldly tells him to go wash up. It's a harsh tone, but it's his own way of showing care. The area is cleared, and the crew is already planning a barbecue party. Our boy gestures for the others to head out first, seemingly wanting a moment alone in the quiet street to calm his nerves. The crew roars off on their bikes, joking that they won't leave him any food if he's late. Watching them go, our boy walks alone into the dark alley, looking solitary and profound in the cold wind. Walking through the silent night, Yona's mind drifts back to a dark past. It's a memory filled with violence and humiliation, where he was cornered and beaten mercilessly, unable to fight back. Yona recalls his dark past. After finally snapping and fighting back against his bullies, he was met with a brutal retaliation. Just when hope seemed lost, our boy appeared with a bowl of hot noodles, becoming his only savior. Desperate to get stronger, Yona tracked down the family hideout and begged our boy to take him in. Looking back, he realizes it was a moment of pure desperation, driven by a deep longing for a family-like bond on the cold streets. The rain stops, but our boy's sharp instincts kick in as he senses someone watching from the shadows. Caught in the act, Yoon Gammon steps out with a sheepish grin, explaining he was just napping upstairs and happened to catch the show. Gammon recognizes our boy immediately, bringing up the legendary status he holds on the streets. As the personification of revenge, he once risked everything for his family, fighting through fire and blood without hesitation. Rumors of our boy turning to the dark side to lead a runaway family against giant syndicates are everywhere. Fearing a deadly misunderstanding, Gammon quickly clarifies that he's not an enemy, as the tension in the air thickens. Facing our boy's suspicion, Yoda quickly clarifies that he's not an enemy. In fact, he shamelessly fanboys over him, claiming our guy's dark, emo vibe is actually super cool. Looking at the weakened Yonu, our boy stays blunt, telling him to head to a shelter. With revenge on his mind, he insists he has no time to babysit a random runaway. Suddenly, Yona begs to join our boy's journey, even revealing he only has 15 days left to live. His desperate and fragile state causes our boy to hesitate for the first time. Softening up, our guide brings Yonu back to the hideout. That's where we meet Baek Dogyum, the crew's number 2, whose tattoos and sharp gaze bring a heavy intensity to the room. The crew is highly skeptical about this new shadow kid, whispering about whether bringing him in was a mistake. In their world, a new face usually means new trouble. 14-year-old Kim Eun-dong looks a bit nervous under everyone's gaze. Even though they look tough, this communal life offers Yonu a sense of belonging he's never felt. Just as the tension peaks, a massive sneeze completely breaks the ice. Watching the crew scramble for tissues turns what should have been a serious meeting into a total comedy. Seeing the shocking cracks all over Yonu's skin, the crew realizes just how much he's suffered. It's hard not to feel a bit of pity for the state he's in. They might look tough, but they've got hearts. Baek Dogyum tosses his own jacket to Yonu. It's a bit oversized, but it gives the kid some much-needed warmth. Everyone is shocked to learn Yonu is 17. Malnourished and small, he looks more like a middle schooler, leaving these street tough guys momentarily speechless. When asked for his name, the boy seems hesitant. He whispers that it's Yonu and asks them to skip the family name, showing a vulnerability that's hard to ignore. Soon, the family kicks off a rowdy barbecue party. Surrounded by sizzling meat and laughter, Yonu is visibly overwhelmed by the unexpected warmth of a real meal together. Baekdogyam can't shake his suspicion though. He keeps wondering about Yonu's claim that he'll die in 15 days. Is there a hidden agenda behind that cryptic warning? Despite the lingering doubts, Kang Heezu's words strike a chord. If the boy is just looking for a bit of warmth before the end, kicking him out would be a regret they can't afford. Watching his crew soften up, Baekdogyam sighs in defeat. He calls them too soft, but deep down, he's already accepted that this mysterious kid is staying for now. Now that Yonu is staying, our boy sets some strict rules for safety. He must sleep alone with the door locked from the outside. It sounds harsh, but Yonu just smiles through it all. Even daily body checks for weapons become a routine. Despite the constant, invasive suspicion, Yonu keeps that same humble smile, making the rest of the crew feel a bit awkward about their doubts. As the days pass, the tension starts to melt away. Between bickering over protein shakes and joking around for autographs, the family starts feeling more like a real home than a hideout. Even during a rowdy trip to the pool, the kid blends in perfectly. He doesn't stand out, but like a shadow, he gradually becomes a part of the family without anyone noticing the lingering danger. But the fun ends abruptly when an emergency strikes. Heezus suddenly passes out in the water. The playful mood evaporates instantly as everyone rushes to pull her out in a frantic panic. Living together has completely lowered everyone's guard. Our boy starts to worry that Yonu's 15-day deadline isn't a threat from an enemy, but a secret sign that the kid is planning to end his own life. Since they've grown attached, they can't just stand by. With the deadline arriving tomorrow, our boy and the crew resolve to save the kid from whatever darkness he's hiding, no matter what it takes. But just as they prepare to act, a member finds a knife hidden in Yonu's room. Looking at the blade, our boy is stunned as all their sincerity failed to earn the kid's trust. The family is gathered around the table, looking troubled as they discuss Yonu's sudden disappearance. Someone saw him slip into the basement alone, but after that, he seemed to vanish into thin air. Reaffirming the family rules, our boy emphasizes that no one is to carry sharp weapons. Against such a vile enemy, he needs everyone to stay sharp and follow the plan to ensure their survival. With the 15th day looming, the team stands outside, filled with worry about whether Yonu can handle things on his own. Kim Udong is visibly breaking a sweat as the tension reaches a boiling point. Looking back, our boy feels a pang of regret. He candidly apologizes to Yonu, admitting that the family couldn't fully trust him given the circumstances, while Yonu listens in somber silence. Despite their differences, our boy truly understands Yonu's drive for revenge. As he prepares to depart, Yonu gives a deep bow, thanking the family for everything, leaving everyone with a heavy heart. By the next day, it's as if Yonu never existed. The base feels strangely empty without him. As the others hold on to the items he left behind, a wave of loneliness washes over the group. Just as the group is settling into their grief, a frantic commotion breaks the silence. The guys are staring at a phone in pure shock, screaming for our boy to come look at what they've just found. A live stream shows total chaos unfolding in front of a hotel in Incheon. A violent weapon incident is happening right now, and it looks like the peace they hoped for has just been shattered by a new disaster. In the middle of the chaos, shocking news breaks. Chairman Hwang Yong-sik of Otrim is under attack, and the perpetrator is reportedly just a kid with a knife. Meanwhile, our boy Dojun is busy dealing with a persistent fan asking for an autograph. Behind that schoolboy exterior, he's carrying a burden far heavier than anyone realizes. The law of the streets is merciless. Driven by revenge, someone is already taking action. In this whirlpool of power, the concept of family means something very different to everyone. At the same time, our boy Gammon senses the growing commotion from inside the school. One understands the pain of revenge, while the other lives in a different world entirely. As different factions begin to mobilize, the tension reaches its breaking point. This captain's duel is about to drag everyone into a collision course with destiny. Shifting to Incheon, our boy Gammon is in full beast mode, not against a gang, but against his math homework. His intense focus makes it look like a life or death battle. Despite his hardcore aura, the reality is a bit awkward. His classmates are stunned. Why is he so intense when he only averages about 3 correct answers? Though his friends aren't around today, our boy's relentless drive hasn't wavered. He's alone with his books, pushing forward with that signature stubbornness. Inside the study cafe, our boy is completely locked in. Despite the whispers about his usual 3 wrong answers, he stays focused, his pen moving tirelessly across a complex math paper. Suddenly, a long-haired thug in sunglasses loses his cool. He starts shouting about the noise, ironically causing a scene and taking out his frustrations directly on our boy. The thug doesn't stop at insults. He swiped our boy's book and pen off the table, mocking his efforts and telling him to quit school before he becomes an even bigger burden to his family. Refusing to be intimidated, our boy grips his red pen tightly. To him, studying is a mission. He adjusts his tie with unwavering resolve, declaring that he will make it to college no matter what. Just as the tension peaks, a group of dangerous masked men bursts through the door. The loudmouth thug is instantly silenced, frozen by the sheer intimidation radiating from these intruders. The intruders move with brutal efficiency. The lead masked man clears the room, leaving the previous bully groveling on the floor. It's clear they have one specific target, our boy in glasses. The scene shifts outside the now trashed cafe. As the battered bully regains consciousness, he realizes with a shock that the quiet glasses kid has been forcibly taken by the mysterious group. Facing an aggressive opponent, our boy remains calm, looking like he's actually in a rush. Meanwhile, this self-proclaimed boss of Buchin is posturing with his crew, completely unaware of the threat ahead. Songbyum continues his taunts, trying to intimidate him with raw aggression. While everyone expects our boy to fold, he just calmly adjusts his glasses, leaving the crowd puzzled by his composure. As Songbyum strikes, onlookers finally realize our boy's true identity. He's Yoon Gammon, leader of the Yuzeong Tech study group known as the Studying Monster for his legendary fighting skills. With his identity revealed, our boy stops holding back as his school badge gleams. He might look like a scholar, but the moment he removes his glasses, the shift in his aura puts everyone on high alert. The villain thought he had the upper hand, but in a flash, Songbyum is the one set flying. The counterattack leaves everyone stunned. Nobody expected such terrifying power from this quiet student. Standing over his fallen foe, our boy's gaze turns sharp and cold. He even politely apologizes for his poor English, creating a hilarious yet intimidating gap between his personality and his lethal combat skills. After the fight, our boy calls home as if nothing happened, still focused on his goal of getting into college. He claims to be bad at studying, yet he's clearly the most dangerous person in this struggle for redemption. Our boy Gammon just finished a brutal skirmish. Surrounded by defeated thugs, he remains unfazed, calmly answering a call, as if these weekly challengers were nothing more than a minor distraction. What keeps him grounded is his unwavering devotion to the study group. Remembering his friends and their shared goal gives him peace of mind, even in the middle of a chaotic whirlpool of violence. However, the scene before him is truly jarring. He finds a battered boy lying in the alley. Even while fading out, the kid mutters that he's okay, a sight that tugs at Gammon's sense of justice. The scene shifts to the luxurious P Hotel, where Outram Group is holding a gala. Gammon arrives with his signature shark backpack, feeling out of place amidst the frantic and oppressive atmosphere of the staff. On the polished floors, Gammon spots a white-haired boy collapsed and bleeding. While the elite crowds ignore the suffering, Gammon is the only one who stops to try and help the struggling youth. Inside the hall, the Outram chairman preaches about humanitarian aid for the marginalized under the spotlight. It's a hypocritical display that stands in stark contrast to the real suffering happening in the shadows. Working as a server, Gammon overhears how one meal here costs 10 days of a laborer's sweat. Looking at these high society figures, our boy's eyes reflect the bitter irony of the world's wealth gap. As the corporate propaganda about connection drones on, Gammon is left to ponder the grim reality. Behind this noble-looking gala, how many dark secrets are the elites trying to hide? Our boy and his dad are at a fancy gala, but there's a catch. Everyone is speaking English. Gammon is completely lost, unable to understand a single word as the sweat starts to pour. While his dad calmly cuts his steak and tells him to just relax and enjoy a long overdue meal together, Gammon tries his best to settle into the high-pressure environment. His dad leans in to admit that even he doesn't understand the nonsense they're spouting. He finds the whole Outram group far too money-driven and only came as a favor. Before they can finish their chat, a group of high-level executives surrounds them. They shower the doctor with praise, immediately shifting the tone of the room to one of intense formality. The executives turn their attention to Gammon, assuming a top surgeon's son must be an elite student. They start guessing if he attends a prestigious international or gifted school. Faced with their persistent questions, Gammon hesitates. It's not that he's ashamed of his school, but the suffocating elitism of the room makes him pause for the first time. Finally, his dad bluntly reveals the name, Yusung Technical High. The air freezes instantly as the elite smiles vanish, replaced by looks of pure disgust for the trash school. This man in the pink-lined suit wears a fake smile. Though he seems to be engaging politely, his condescending aura is undeniable. He clearly looks down on everyone around him. Facing two men kneeling before him in desperation, he shows no mercy. With a cold sneer, he dismisses them with a casual no need, crushing their last bit of hope. The scene shifts to a heartwarming memory of our boy studying. Dr. Yun watches his son push himself to tears for his dreams. To Gammon, he's just a struggler, but to his father, he's already a hero. Back in the present, the elite entourage moves out. As he walks, the man mocks the idea of raising children, displaying a ruthless corporate mindset that feels bone-chillingly cold. Meanwhile, Gammon's father, Dr. Yun, is spiraling into self-doubt. Drenched in sweat and apologizing in pain, he seems to be crushed by a heavy burden he can't share with his family. A disturbingly awkward interaction follows. This surface-level comfort feels incredibly fake against the dark backdrop, as if the man is simply playing mind games with those beneath him. With his business done, the man walks away without a second glance, leaving behind chaos and a fallen figure in the shadows. His total disregard for others signals a much larger storm ahead. Outside the office, the group plots against Dr. Yun. It turns out the doctor had boldly rejected their corrupt proposal, an act of defiance the greedy corporation won't easily forgive. The air turns lethal as a sharp blade scrapes against the floor, creating a chilling sound. Since bribery failed, these ruthless thugs are clearly moving on to extreme violence. Unaware of the danger closing in on his father, our boy walks out of the restroom with an exhausted sigh. Seeing him so vulnerable makes us worry about the chaos that's about to hit his life. Our boy is spiraling into deep self-doubt, clutching his red pencil while realizing that some forms of hard work might just be a futile struggle against the impossible. Before he can even process his academic frustration, reality hits him hard. Surrounded by mockery, he sweats through the suffocating pressure of his current situation. The scene shifts violently as screams erupt. A gray-haired boy breaks through the chaos, pinning a knife directly against the arrogant chairman's throat. The situation spirals out of control instantly. Although guards rush in with guns drawn, the attacker's desperate stance keeps everyone frozen in a tense standoff. Yona wears a chilling smile, gripping the chairman's jaw while demanding to be recognized. Witnessing this shocking escalation, our boy is left completely stunned. Facing Yona's overwhelming resentment, the once mighty chairman is reduced to pure terror, his struggles futile as the heavy atmosphere suffocates the room. On the edge of a bloody conclusion, our boy is torn. Remembering how these people looked down on him and his father, his mind tells him to stay out of it. Yet, seeing the desperation in the eyes of others, a flicker of hesitation crosses his face. Despite the insults, can he really stand by and watch a tragedy unfold? As Yona prepares to collect his blood price, the tension reaches a breaking point. Will this trial of revenge truly end in a final, lethal stroke? Our boy finds himself in a serious bind as Go Songbyum's gang closes in without a hint of mercy. As the crowd swarms, the atmosphere thickens with a lethal tension that signals the start of a bloody brawl. Suddenly, the violence escalates as blades flash and people are cut down. Seeing the blood spill and his companions fall, our boy's expression darkens. His dormant sense of justice is finally beginning to stir. Even with a blade at a throat, our boy doesn't show a flicker of fear. He calmly analyzes the chaos for an opening, his mind sharpening into a state of absolute focus despite the panicked screams around him. At the sound of a desperate scream, our boy's gaze shifts instantly, his pupils narrowing with lethal intent. Realizing that lives are on the line, the suppressed fury within him finally hits its breaking point. In a blur of motion, our boy lunges forward with power that defies his nerd reputation. He dives headfirst into the danger to stop a killing blow, the sheer impact of his move shattering the ground beneath him. With blood splattered across his glasses, our boy's eyes are colder than anyone has ever seen. The mild student is gone, replaced by a terrifying combat genius. And this is only the beginning of his retaliation. The atmosphere hits freezing point as a heavy fist swings down with a deafening roar. Before anyone can react, the ground shatters under the impact, leaving someone collapsed in the chaos. Panic erupts as the crowd scatters in every direction, with suited pursuers hot on their heels. In this high-stakes chase, everyone's nerves are pushed to the absolute limit. Things are just as tense on our boys' side, as they grab each other by the collar, a mix of fury and pain fueled by the struggle. Even with blood seeping through his sleeve, neither side is backing down. As sirens wail in the distance, the exhausted survivors finally catch their breath. Police swarm the area, bringing this hellish ordeal to a close under the flicker of flashing lights. Unbelievably, the whole shocking scene was captured live by a passing YouTuber. The viewers are stunned after all. A daylight assassination attempt feels more like a movie than reality. Watching the news, the group can't believe the kind-hearted Yonu would do something so drastic. But for Yonu, haunted by heavy secrets, his life has already entered its final countdown. Faced with his companion's doubts, our boy Dajun remains cold. To him, since Yonu broke their past promise, he's no longer one of them, a decision reflected in his piercing, resolute gaze. Watching Dajun walk away, everyone is left with heavy hearts as they turn to treat their wounds. The clinic door shuts, ending this storm for now, though a bigger conspiracy may have just begun. The scene shifts to the aftermath as everyone tends to their wounds. Our boy, Gammon, watches his father patch up a comrade. Though the injury is minor, the tension from the chaos still lingers. Gammon's dad worries about his son's recklessness. However, the others are full of praise, crediting Gammon's bravery in facing the attacker to the spirit he inherited from his father's medical missions. Amidst the laughter, our boy looks unexpectedly somber. Before he can process his thoughts, the hospital door bursts open as a powerful and imposing figure makes a sudden entrance. The intruder is Huang Si-hyuk, the eldest son of Chairman Huang. He arrives with a suffocating aura, and his chilling gaze immediately freezes the room's previously lighthearted atmosphere. Si-hyuk claims he's there to show gratitude, thanking Gammon's father for his son's heroics. But faced with this gratitude, our boy is overwhelmed by guilt, his eyes welling up with silent tears. The Huang family offers everything from cash to lifetime perks as a reward. However, our boy firmly turns them down. For him, the weight of his conscience is far heavier than any material gain. After the pleasantries, Si-hyuk's tone shifts to the fugitive suspect. He locks eyes with Gammon and asks with a cold, piercing intensity, "You know why he attacked my father, don't you?" Faced with Si-hyuk's probing question, our boy falls into a heavy silence. The true motive behind the attack remains a dangerous secret hanging between them. On the other side, Huang Si-hyuk is gloomily plotting his next move. To him, the escaped Yonu is just a lunatic, but for the sake of family secrets, he orders his men to find the kid at all costs. Seeing the police get involved, Si-hyuk loses his cool. He grabs his subordinate's collar, gritting his teeth as he demands they move faster than the cops to prevent a massive scandal. Like an enraged beast, he gives a terminal order: secure Yonu by any means necessary. He believes the shadow child should never have stepped into the light and must be eliminated. Si-hyuk's eyes are full of murderous intent. If Yonu breaks the rules, he'll pay. While the villains are on a manhunt, our boy Gammon is still struggling to process the aftermath of the recent battle. The scene shifts to our boy looking incredibly conflicted, looking like someone with a bad stomach ache. His friend even teases him, asking if the steak he ate earlier was undercooked. Amidst the awkwardness, a nurse suddenly rushes up asking for an autograph. Although his mind is heavy with secrets, our boy can only agree, looking completely dazed by his new fan. The peaceful interlude is short-lived, as the embodiment of revenge sets out again. Yim Dajun is sprinting toward his next goal. His war for justice is only just beginning. The news of the Incheon hotel attack is everywhere, replaying the chaotic scenes. Although our boy stepped up to stop the killer, the suspect managed to slip away in the end. As a mysterious figure watches the news of the escape with a smirk, 3 days pass, and Yusung Technical High School is now buzzing with the story. Back at school, the crew is hyped up around our boy. As the hero student who stopped a murder, he's become a local celebrity with official police recognition. However, the group is still on edge. They worry that with the school's name out there, the lunatic killer might return for revenge, yet our boy remains unusually quiet. Our boy can't stop replaying that moment. Even though the attacker fought like a demon, he distinctly saw tears falling from the boy's eyes when he was pinned down. That desperate crying shook our boy to his core. The contrast haunts him, making him wonder if the monster everyone describes is truly beyond redemption. Suddenly, a sharp question pierces the silence. Seeing right through our boy's hesitation, someone asks, "You didn't lose him, you let him go on purpose, didn't you?" Confronted with this sudden interrogation, our boy's gaze sharpens. The truth hidden behind his heroic act seems to be pulling him into a dark, unknown depth. A new chapter begins. During the winter break, our boy pulls up to Yuzeong Tech on his motorcycle. Clutched in his hand is the only clue he has, and his focused gaze shows he's here for a very specific reason. Inside the classroom, the tension is thick as the group questions Gammon about letting the attacker go. Suddenly, a stranger's presence interrupts the mood, turning the already heated atmosphere into a powder keg. Our boy locks eyes with Gammon, requesting a private talk. Surrounded by wary students, he doesn't flinch, meeting their growing hostility with a sharp, dangerous glint in his eyes. In this territory, rules are rules. Our boy formally reveals his identity as Dajuan Lim from Seoul. Noticing their skepticism, he suggests a match to warm things up before they get down to business. He cracks his knuckles as a heavy pressure radiates from him. Since conflict is inevitable, the group decides to take it to the rooftop, setting the stage for a high-stakes cross-district showdown. On the way to the roof, the group still broods over Gammon's past mercy. However, the raw, gritty aura of a street fighter coming off our boy warns them that this opponent is far from ordinary. Gammon walks silently at the back, still deep in thought. As they reach the rooftop, a collision is imminent, and this unexpected encounter is only the beginning of a much deeper mystery. Returning to a luxury estate in Seoul, the atmosphere is heavy with tension as powerful figures fixate on the name Dajuan Lim. Chairman Hwang Yong-sik is still reeling from the assassination attempt. 3 days later, his neck wound throbs as he seethes with rage and pain. An assistant rushes in with bad news: the police have come up empty-handed. The assailant seems to have vanished without leaving a single trace. The criminal's ability to dodge cameras is unsettling. Meanwhile, the scarred brute Wang Chunja watches silently, his focus fixed on the weapon before him. Sia Huang, the chairman's daughter, smells something fishy. Seeing through her family's facade, she begins to question the true motives behind their desperate manhunt. Enraged by her questions, the chairman explodes, insulting Sia's lifestyle and telling her to be more like her refined brother, Siyuk. Unfazed, Sia mocks the idea of being refined. She wraps her arms around her brother in a fake display of affection, layering her words with heavy sarcasm. Before leaving, she drops a chilling warning: "You reap what you sow." Her mocking laughter leaves the room in a state of stunned, awkward silence. As Sia departs, the mood turns icy. With the chairman and his thugs left in her wake, it's clear this power struggle is only just beginning. Inside the mansion, the tension is suffocating. The chairman questions his daughter's lineage in a fit of rage, before coldly ordering his secretary to drive her home, leaving a trail of suppressed fury in his wake. Secretary Young is visibly struggling, clutching his injured neck and cursing the bastard who did this. The chairman warns him to keep a low profile, as the police are finally starting to poke around. Sia gazes at the scar on her neck, a mark that might fade but won't be forgotten. Meanwhile, Yodu is seen in a freefall, his eyes filled with a heavy resolve as he plunges into the next phase of his destiny. Back at school, it's time for supplementary class, but Jawa finds the room nearly empty. Upon hearing that our boy Gammon went to the rooftop to meet someone, a sense of dread begins to fill the quiet hallway. Sia looks uneasy, explaining that Gammon has been gone for far too long. Realizing something is wrong, a figure races up the stairs. On a day meant for studying, violence seems ready to break out. The rooftop door bursts open, but only a scene of tragedy awaits. Glasses fly and blood splatters across the floor. Seeing the chaos, our boy Gammon's eyes turn sharp and cold. It looks like study time is officially over. Seeing his companion attacked, Gammon is consumed by a cold fury. With all reason gone, he realizes that since the enemy chose violence, he will respond in kind. A fierce battle of conviction is about to begin. Our story continues, now entering Chapter 5. Captain's Duel. The scene flashes back to that night, with a thought hanging in the air that things were indeed a bit strange back then. On the late-night street, Baek Dogyam and Yem Dajuan walk side by side, each holding a bottle of cleaning agent. Dogyam is visibly bothered by a foul stench, muttering about the building being old and wondering if this will fix the problem. Our boy calmly replies, explaining that most restroom smells. Dogyam has a lightbulb moment, impressed as always with our boy's knowledge. He admits that because he was always on the run, he never settled anywhere long enough to learn such things. Dajuan asks who made him run, but Dogyam shuts it down, saying that from this point on, it's a secret. Dajuan changes the subject, asking how Dogyam's stay has been, noting it's been about a week. Dogyam replies with a genuine smile, saying everyone's been nice to him. He mentions how kind Unong is and Dojeong. He says it's been really fun lately, all thanks to Dajuan. Our boy deflects, saying they just had free time because they were reorganizing after a fight. Do-gyam's next question is eager. Did you win? Do-gyun's face darkens. He replies coldly that he did win, but it's not an absolute victory until his revenge is complete. Do-gyam stops walking. Looking at Do-gyun's back, he suddenly asks, Hyung, what do you think the end of revenge is? He mentions a saying, if you must avenge, dig 2 graves, hinting at the cost and self-destruction of revenge. With a sharp look, Do-gyun cuts him off, assuming he's about to preach that revenge is futile. At that moment, the memory violently cuts to another night in a narrow alleyway. A brown-haired man decked in gold accessories brutally punches a black-haired youth in a hoodie. It's Yonu, the very boy they're searching for. Yonu crash lands on the ground, blood at his mouth. The scar-faced, gray-haired thug who attacked him snarls insults, telling him to know his place. Enraged, the thug roars at Yonu, wondering why he's staring, and unleashes an even fiercer punch aimed right at him. At the critical moment, frantic footsteps echoed down the alley, accompanied by a desperate shout. Someone is rushing towards the scene at full speed. After the fierce battle, only heavy breathing remains in the alley. Looking at his fallen foe, our boy's gaze is cold and resolute. He's ready to walk through hell for his revenge. To him, seeing the enemy who killed his family live well is worse than death. In his sharp, purple eyes, a desperate and lethal resolve begins to flicker. Suddenly, a desperate counterattack erupts. The fallen enemy lunges forward with a roar, wielding a mysterious spray as a weapon, turning the tide into a chaotic struggle. The enemy frantically splashes a blue liquid everywhere. This sudden assault catches everyone off guard, as a massive wave of fluid washes over the scene, blurring everything. Screams of pain fill the air as the burning sensation drives the attacker to the ground. Amidst the mess, our boy stands firm, calmly watching the chaotic aftermath. As the dust settles, he stares up at the night sky with a strange premonition. He realizes that perhaps the end of revenge isn't darkness, but a faint, guiding light. Though this thought feels out of place in reality, our boy knows that those who hold onto hope carry a certain brightness, the very thing he found so strange. The scene shifts back to the rooftop of Yusung Tech. 2 mysterious men are deep in conversation, and the subject of their discussion is the missing boy, Yonu. Questioned about Yonu's whereabouts, the student in glasses remains cautious. Despite everyone looking for him, he's clearly hiding something as their mental game begins. Faced with sharp questioning, our boy Gammon falls silent. The other guy sees right through his lie, bluntly pointing out that Gammon didn't actually lose the suspect, he chose to let him go. With his monster-like fighting instincts, there's no way a simple knife could freeze our boy. Looking at the footage, his hesitation was completely illogical, a clear sign that he was holding back on purpose. The pressure mounts as the challenger mocks our boy for protecting his brave citizen title. He even brings up Gammon's famous doctor father, questioning if he's just scared of ruining the family's prestige. The news calls Yonu a killer, but a harsh truth emerges. His actions weren't just a crime, they were a life-or-death mission of revenge. For someone like Yonu, revenge was the only hope he had left. Behind Yonu's scarred face lay a desperate longing for redemption. Despite his dark life, he could still smile because he believed this revenge would finally bring a conclusion to his suffering. Recalling Yonu's past, our boy's resolve begins to waver. His opponent understands that obsession for revenge far better than Gammon does, forcing him to reevaluate his own sense of justice and pity. A final question is thrown at our boy. What if your interference trampled on someone's lifelong goal? Gammon snaps back, asking if revenge justifies murder. Their ideologies are now in a total deadlock. On the dimly lit rooftop, the tension is palpable. Facing a direct confrontation, our boy Gammon remains remarkably calm, firmly stating he has zero interest in helping a criminal. Gammon reflects on his core identity. As a student, he can't forget the winter break class banner to him. Protecting his ordinary life of studying is the ultimate priority. However, reality keeps dragging him back into the spiral of violence. As the enemy closes in, Gammon's purple eyes sharpen, a clear sign that the study monster is losing his patience. Negotiations fail, and the fight ignites. Before the enemy can even finish their threat, our boy moves faster than they can react, launching a punch that sends glasses flying. The sheer power of that strike stuns everyone. Amidst the chaos and blood, Gammon moves like a precision combat machine, tearing through the enemy's formation in an instant. Surrounded but undeterred, our boy unleashes his incredible core strength with a massive high kick. Even as they try to counter, their efforts are futile against his raw martial talent. The impact of the blows is bone-crushing. Even with blood at the corner of his mouth, Gammon never breaks eye contact. Every strike is calculated to end this fight right here, right now. After one final, explosive clash, a heavy silence returns to the rooftop. Exhausted and panting amidst the wreckage, our boy's resolve to protect his companion stands stronger than ever. That 1-inch punch was no joke, and our boy is clearly feeling the burn. Despite the bruises and exhaustion, his mind is fixed on one goal: finding Yonu before it's too late. Shifting to Incheon, our boy has slipped away on his own. He answers Hee's frantic call with typical calm, unaware that back home, his friends might be facing some serious trouble. When teased about having a secret girlfriend, our boy quickly shuts it down. On the other end, Sia seems relieved despite her fierce expression, though she's clearly still a bit jealous. Meanwhile, the team tracking Yonu is scouring the CCTV footage. However, the boy has vanished into the blind spots, leaving the security team frustrated and unable to find a lead. The pursuers realize they aren't dealing with an average kid. His survival instincts are second to none, allowing him to live off the grid like a wild animal without needing any help. Hiding in the shadows, Yonu huddles on the street with only a stray cat for company. Despite the fear and exhaustion of being hunted, he still manages a gentle, peaceful smile. As night deepens, the city remains restless. A luxury car speeds through the rain-slick streets, signaling that the major players are finally moving in to take matters into their own hands. Inside the car, the air is thick with tension. Chief Kwan and the director are frustrated, knowing how hard it is to track someone who has lived in hiding forever. Then, a sharp question cuts through the silence. What is their true connection? As the director falls silent, the scene shifts to an ivy-covered building. Before we can catch our breath, a brutal punch shatters the quiet. Our boy's eyes widen as he senses the danger. It's clear an uninvited guest has arrived. As the door swings open, a mysterious woman steps out of the shadows. She looks our boy up and down with a cold, judging gaze, asking if he's really the famous Him Dajuan, and frankly, she doesn't look too impressed. Outside, the rest of the crew is busy on their phones, unaware of the tension brewing inside. While some might be joking about the woman's looks, the underlying threat has already filled the air with a sense of impending danger. Suddenly, the hallway erupts into chaos. Our boy wastes no more time, lunging forward to pin the woman against the wall. With a piercing, ice-cold glare, he demands the truth. How do you know about Yonu? Though caught off guard, the woman quickly regains her composure. Meanwhile, the crew stays alert for any other hidden threats, knowing that in this dangerous game, any small noise could signal the start of a bloody fight. Then comes the ultimate bombshell. The woman reveals her identity as Huang Shihe, daughter of the Otramite chairman. Even more shocking is her next confession. Yonu, the boy everyone is hunting, is her younger brother. This twist leaves everyone completely stunned. The truth finally comes to light. It turns out that Yonu, the boy causing all the chaos, is actually Chairman Huang's secret illegitimate son. While the chairman didn't recognize him at first, others knew exactly who he was. Yonu is the son of that woman who was abandoned, planting the seeds of family discord long ago. Back then, Shihe was brought face to face with the brother she never knew existed. This forced introduction was a massive shock to both children. Back in the present, Shihe sits in our boy's hideout, calmly explaining it all. Everything Yonu has done was likely fueled by a desire for revenge for his abandoned mother. The room goes silent as everyone processes the heavy revelation. If Shihe is telling the truth, then Yonu's motive for attacking the chairman makes perfect sense. Just when they thought Shihe was another entitled rich girl, she humbles herself and asks our boy for help. Her eyes are filled with determination to save her struggling brother. The biggest surprise is that Shihe has been secretly watching over Yonu all along. She knows exactly where he is, and has been protecting him in her own way for a decade. Remembering the harsh words, and how his mother was branded a crazy woman, Shihe refuses to stand by any longer. Even if it means being ostracized, she's choosing her own path. While the big players discuss serious business, the guys outside are busy gossiping. Hearing a beautiful woman came to see Dajuan as these tough fighters acting like middle schoolers. Through the night, a luxury car sped past, its blurred streaks of light hinting at an approaching storm. Inside the car, someone anxiously discussed Yonu. If his identity as an illegitimate child was revealed, could he even inherit company shares? This thought struck the speaker as utterly absurd and unacceptable. This anxiety quickly morphed into a cold, murderous intent. To secure his future from being threatened by a beggar's child, the black-haired man, Huang Shihe, resolved to completely erase Yonu's existence. What enraged him further was the discovery that Huang Xia had been secretly tracking Yonu all this time, likely planning to reveal his true identity at the opportune moment. A betrayal he deemed unforgivable. As the command came through on the phone, a group of thugs sprang into action. Someone realized with horror that Huang Xia's ruthless order was to resolve the problem by any means necessary. Receiving the order, the bald man Wang Chunjil sneered and threw a punch. His subordinates immediately swarmed the target like wolves, plunging the scene into instant chaos. The commotion quickly reached Huang Xia. Learning Huang Xia had set people for her, she planned to escape through a back door, but her companion stopped her, instructing her to wait while he went to confront them. Wang Chunjil and his men relentlessly pursued, shouting in the stairwell, "She's in this building," while also confirming on the phone that the bounty for capturing her was a staggering 200 million won. Despite the immense bounty, Wang Chunjil still made sure to confirm, "As long as I don't kill her?" A sinister grin crept onto his face, clearly calculating the precise limits of not killing. He thought himself incredibly lucky today, but before he could fully savor his triumph, his men were suddenly set flying like broken kites. This abrupt turn of events left Wang Chunjil completely stunned. With a sudden cry, blood splatters across the scene. The scarred thug strikes with brutal precision, leaving the boy no time to react as he's thrown into immediate and deadly peril. Just as the thug thinks he's won, our boy's crew finally bursts onto the scene. Seeing the chaos in the hallway, the vibe shifts instantly, leaving even the arrogant villain visibly shaken. Facing a powerful foe, Dogium's gaze is razor-sharp, his tattoos practically humming with combat energy. Beside him, Sehil looks surprised but knows they're heading into a fight they can't avoid. A horde of glowing-eyed figures descends the staircase, and they are clearly not your average street thugs. With that heavy chain around his neck, the leader radiates a suffocating, murderous intent. The hallway has turned into a literal war zone, but Dogium isn't flinching. Clenching his fist with cold determination, he calmly asks the thug if he's prepared to face the consequences. Sehil watches the unfolding chaos with a grim expression. These enemies look like demons crawling out of hell, each one reeking of bloodlust as the real battle finally begins to escalate. Meanwhile, the atmosphere inside the car hits rock bottom as intel on Yona's location comes in. Danger is lurking everywhere, but our boy won't stop until this entire conspiracy is brought to light. Tension reaches a breaking point as everyone prepares for the worst. With hidden threats still watching from the shadows, how will our boy and his crew fight their way out of this trap? Facing the bald man's question, the brown-haired man sneers and explains the reason these attackers have no fear, driven only by the 2 billion won bounty. The conflict escalates instantly as bounty-driven thugs, seeing only the kill order, charge forward like savage beasts. At the center of the chaos is the black-haired young man known as Dogium. His rose and sun tattoos on his neck and chest prominent, his gaze icy. At that moment, an attacker abruptly swings a bat, smashing a window glass, marking the climax of this bloody indoor siege. The bald man and his blade-wielding companions roar with savage fury, preparing to deliver the final and fatal blow to their target. However, a swift counterattack erupts just as suddenly. Members of Dogyuan's family charge in, their sharp kicks and strikes instantly turning the tide, flooring the attackers at the front. Hisu also joins the fray, his face smeared with blood, his eyes filled with determination and sharp intensity. The close-quarters combat is brutally intense, with one thug even pulling out a switchblade. Meanwhile, Dogium finds himself in a tight spot. An enemy seizes the chaotic moment to stab Dogium from above, causing blood to instantly gush from his neck. But the severe injury doesn't bring Dogium down. With sheer willpower, he counterattacks, plunging the scene into an even more brutal bloodbath. Dogium even sacrifices himself, letting the blade pierce his own hand to trap his opponent's attack. He finally takes down an enemy, whose neck sprays a dramatic fountain of blood, rendering him powerless. But the real threat, the demonically strong bald man Wang Chunjil, has locked onto the weakened Dogium, and launches a lethal strike from above. Faced with a monster of this caliber, even the fierce Dogium is in grave danger. His comrades anxiously call out his name. Wang Chunjil, a ruthless thug driven by money, screams like a beast, threatening to kill anyone who stands between him and his payday, his eyes filled with pure greed and murderous intent. Before his words even faded, he plunged like a demon, smashing a black-clad man into the ground with one punch, his overwhelmed companions powerless to stop the rampage. Meanwhile, news channels report on a random hotel assault with the culprit still at large. Simultaneously, Outram Group management holds an urgent meeting regarding Chairman Huang's attack, deciding it's time to take action. As the conflict raged, even the innocent were not spared. A brown-haired man collapsed in agony amidst blinding light, while another orange-haired man clenched his fists, roaring accusations at those holding him down. In a buried memory, Huang Xihe once cried out with all her might, vowing she would never abandon her child, despite all obstacles, her eyes filled with despair and maternal resolve. The atmosphere shifts as the smell of blood fills the air. Hiding in the shadows, Xihe is paralyzed with fear as a deadly threat looms directly over her. The greedy madman, Wang Chunjil, lunges from above with a demonic grin. Driven by the 200 million bounty, he sees our boy as nothing more than a walking payday. Faced with such a reckless assault, our boy counters with a massive blow. The heavy impact explodes on contact, sending the crazed villain reeling backward. Determined to reach Yanhua, our boy decides to stop playing around. He lowers his stance, radiating a chilling aura as he gathers full power for a final strike. The two clash head-on once more, sending debris flying. Despite Wang's desperate cursing, the sheer gap in power starts to fill his eyes with genuine terror. With a dull thud, our boy delivers a devastating river blow to the liver. This paralyzing strike leaves Wang frozen, while Xihe watches in absolute disbelief. Many wonder what martial art our boy studied, but the truth is, he's self-taught. His lethal skills are purely the result of raw survival instincts forged on the streets. The fight enters its final, brutal stage as both sides bet their lives. In this collision of iron fists and wild instinct, only one will be left standing. Pushed to his absolute limit, our boy collapses to the ground with bloodied hands, desperately questioning what his next move should be. Meanwhile, a high-ranking executive is losing his mind over his reputation, frantically calling Secretary Young while cursing his sudden disappearance. Despite the chaos, Secretary Young maintains his polite smile, joking with his family about how a newlywed like him has to be punctual with his calls. Back in the heat of battle, our boy ignites his fighting spirit, unleashing a fierce assault that sends the monstrous Chunjil reeling. Known as a living devil, Wang Chunjil harbors a deep contempt for humanity, believing that even family ties should be traded for cold, hard cash. But the monster isn't finished. Chunjil launches a brutal counterattack, landing a heavy blow on our boy's face that leaves Xihe screaming in terror. As the battle reaches its peak, Chunjil Wang unleashes a devastating punch. The sheer force sends our boy spinning through the air, caught in a brutal shockwave. Chunjil roars with madness, mockingly calling our boy an arrogant punk. While the girl watches in terror, the villain gloats over the chaos, thinking he's already won. Contrasting the chaos, Dokium Beck remains perfectly composed. He tells the others not to worry, hinting that the real show is only just beginning. Right on cue, our boy strikes back with a thunderous punch. The impact rattles Chunjil's skull, leaving him dazed and desperately asking how this is possible. To these corporate lapdogs, money is God and the ultimate power. However, that arrogant belief is about to be shattered by the sheer weight of our boy's conviction. Driven to madness, Chunjil's face contorts into a demonic mask as he screams curses. Yet, even as the villain vows to drag him to hell, our boy remains unfazed. The tide has completely turned. Our boy stands over his fallen enemy, ignoring the desperate threats and preparing to end this struggle once and for all. Dokium notes that our boy doesn't win through skill alone, but through pure, relentless will. As his blood-stained hand grips the weapon, the finale of this brawl is finally here. Armed with an iron will, our boy lands a devastating blow on his opponent. Despite being covered in blood, the villain grins, acknowledging that those with such resolve are the ones who usually win. Watching the brutal struggle, Xihe looks on, with a pained expression. Without a moment's hesitation, our boy follows up with another violent strike, determined to end this fight once and for all. Just then, Beck Dogium steps in decisively, piercing the enemy's jaw with a blade. Amidst the spray of blood, the raving madman finally collapses in a scream of agony. As the dust settles, the group walks through the corridor with heavy expressions. Looking at the aftermath, Xihe realizes that this entire mess was orchestrated by the ruthless Huang Xihe. Suddenly, a chilling realization hits her. They've been followed all along. Panicked, she calls out to our boy, sensing that Yonu is now in grave danger from an unseen threat. Meanwhile, Huang Xihe sits calmly in his car, deducing that Xihe must have a secret helper. He prepares a two-track assault, treating this power struggle like a calculated hunt. A dark conspiracy now looms over everyone as the true crisis erupts with explosive force. In this cruel world where money is everything, everyone seems to be a sacrificial lamb to greed. As the battle enters a new phase, more forces are pulled into the fray. In a world where money buys everything, can our boy's fists still protect what remains of justice? Years later, the mature Huang Xia's gaze sharpens, as she reflects that this cruel reality became clear to her when she was just 10 years old. Back when she was little, her assistant carefully sought her opinion on a gift for the chairman. But young Xia seemed displeased with every option, even a little impatient. Flashing back 10 years, Secretary Jung finally secured a rare teddy bear for young Xia. However, she wasn't smiling. Her eyes held a gravity far beyond her years. At that moment, Xia noticed suspicious figures lurking outside, shocking Secretary Jung. It seems the greedy eyes of the conglomerate never stopped stalking the shadow child, Yonu. To protect her brother, young Xia showed incredible grit, even using money to sway Secretary Jung. Together, they forged a secret pact that would last 10 years, building their own order in the shadows. Back to the present, our boy is tearing down the highway on his motorcycle. Amidst the sparks and roars, Xia confesses how she's been dodging the family's gaze to protect Yonu for a decade. But the situation shifts. The villain Sihyuk has targeted Secretary Jung. Staring at her unanswered calls, Xia panics, realizing the barrier protecting Yonu might have finally collapsed. As plans fall apart, our boy's gaze turns ice cold. He orders his team to stay behind, while he and Xia charge toward the battlefield. The high-stakes game for family and redemption is at its peak. Under everyone's gaze, the roaring bike vanishes into the night like a blue streak. With confirmed intel, Dogyam and the crew stand ready. The Dajuan family's counterattack has only just begun. While the man in glasses hesitates over lingering family ties, the roar of a motorcycle tears through the night as a sudden energy blast erupts, signaling a chaotic pursuit. Caught in the chaos, the man in glasses is visibly shaken. In the rain-slick standoff, a shocking truth emerges: the chairman's most loyal man has been a traitor all along. The hallway atmosphere turns icy as our boy Yona lets out a haunting smile. This high-stakes gamble involving money and betrayal is only just beginning. The villain begins his psychological game, offering triple the bounty to tempt the man into betraying the illegitimate kid. Loyalty starts to waver in the face of such wealth. They even use the man's child as a bargaining chip to seal the deal. However, Yona's piercing gaze shows a fierce resolve, mocking those enslaved by greed. The reveal of an ex-Special Forces background brings an oppressive pressure to the scene. In this cutthroat family, those without power are merely prey for others. The final ultimatum is issued, with a 5-second countdown echoing through the hallway. Will he betray them to change his fate, or hold the line? Everyone is holding their breath. As the countdown hits the final seconds, the tension reaches a breaking point. Every player on the field is bracing for the inevitable collision. Xia's past words echo in the silence. She once believed money could solve anything, unaware that it was the very root of this unfolding tragedy. Disgusted by how power has warped this family, our boy clenches his fist. His only concern now is survival, urging the others to just stay alive. Chaos erupts in an instant. A desperate strike creates a narrow window for escape, while a frantic command to run rings out through the dust. It turns out it wasn't just luck. Xia had been the one protecting him from the shadows. As the truth surfaces, the weight of the past becomes unbearable. With a whispered apology, years of regret and pain intertwine under the starlit sky. This long overdue truth leaves everyone drowning in emotion. Facing this cold world, our boy's elder erupts in fury. He refuses to let the next generation grow up in a place ruled by greed and devoid of empathy. A haunting scream echoes through the city. Our boy races to the scene with Xia, only to be met with an eerie silence that chills them to the bone. Everything circles back to that fateful tunnel. As the shadows of the past loom large, the secrets hidden that day are finally about to be revealed. A tragedy unfolds in a pool of blood, as shattered glasses mark the end of peace. Amidst the despair, the embers of anger and sorrow are already beginning to ignite. 3 days later, the chaos spreads like wildfire. Our boy blends into the crowd, his sharp purple eyes glinting behind his glasses as he prepares for what's coming. The news broadcasts the hotel assault once again. The happy smiles and old photos contrast sharply with the cold surveillance footage, making the air in the room feel heavy. While our boy collapses in exhaustion, a baby in the next room innocently calls out "Papa." That tiny voice becomes a painful reminder of the lives shattered by the conflict. The baby's innocence contrasts cruelly with the victim's fate. Our boy stares at the scene with cold, purple eyes, realizing the bloody conspiracy over inheritance has only just begun. Huang Xia is consumed by fear and doubt. If Yonu's secret is exposed, the family's inheritance will spiral into chaos, leaving everyone suffocating under the mounting pressure. Police lights pierce the city night as our boy moves through the shadows. He's closing in on the truth, but a massive storm is already brewing in the quiet darkness. The street is a chaotic mess of flashing sirens and urgent shouts. It turns out the report was real, and the first responders are scrambling to deal with a truly gruesome scene. Our boy's eyes are filled with a haunting intensity, as if he's trapped in a dark void. Voices of blame echo in his mind, suggesting he's the one responsible for the tragedy. A distorted face screams directly at him, and our boy jolts awake in bed, gasping for air. It was just a nightmare. It's 4 a.m., and he's completely drenched in cold sweat. His mom's message calls him a hero after seeing the news, but the praise feels heavy. It's strange to him that she isn't nagging him about fighting for once, leaving him feeling unsettled. Standing alone in the dim kitchen, our boy reflects on his broken family. Ever since the divorce, he's tried so hard to prove his worth through studying, but academic success has always eluded him. The photo shows his father as a brilliant doctor, a sharp contrast to his own reputation as the family failure. He can't help but feel his lack of talent was the reason the family fell apart. His parents claim they aren't ashamed, but looking at his failed exams, it feels like a sugar-coated lie. Our boy adjusts his glasses, his expression a mix of frustration and loneliness. Back in the present, the sight of a bloodied victim triggers a chilling realization. If that kid is still hell-bent on revenge, something even more disastrous is about to unfold. Just as our boy Gammon was heading to his study group, his companion Lee Jun suddenly grabbed him from behind, squinting with his scarred face, and questioning if he was hiding something. Lee Jun, holding his phone, relentlessly teased Gammon, mocking his brave citizen act from yesterday's encounter with that short-tempered guy. Gammon tried to calm him, but Lee Jun kept talking, regretting not having punched the guy himself. Before Gammon could even process it, Lee Jun suddenly cried out about a stomach ache, blaming it on the milk he drank, and rushed off to the staff restroom, leaving Gammon to continue alone. Gammon entered the venue to find the crowd already gathered and noisy. His keen intuition immediately picked up a bad vibe from one of the people there, sensing that something was terribly wrong. Just then, the news flashed onto the screen, showing the scene of a murder in a tunnel. The report stated that a 37-year-old man, Young Hwa-young, had been stabbed to death. Hearing the name, Gammon's mind flashed back to Young Hwa-young alive and smiling. He agonizingly wondered if Yonu, unwilling to give up on revenge, was involved in this bloody murder. Police found the murder weapon at the crime scene and suspected the perpetrator was the same person from the previous P-Hotel weapon assault. This news plunged Gammon's heart into despair, as Yona's path of revenge seemed to be growing crueler by the day. The scene descends into chaos as a woman tearfully grabs our boy by the collar, screaming at him for letting the boy go. Caught off guard, our guy can only stand there in a state of pure shock. Memories of that night flood back to our boy. He painfully recalls how a split second of mercy caused his strength to fail, a moment of weakness that directly led to this irreversible tragedy. Driven by guilt, our guy finally admits he let the kid go. Meanwhile, Siha arrives with a crucial update, confirming that Yonu is indeed still alive, adding another layer of tension to the situation. Still consumed by grief, the woman clings to our boy, wailing for him to take responsibility. The desperation of her loss fills the hallway, leaving our guy suffocating under the weight of his own guilt. Someone died because I let go. This harsh reality hits our boy like a ton of bricks. He stands frozen, his eyes filled with self-doubt, unable to even look up at the complicated stares of those around him. In this critical moment, his friends step up, fiercely arguing that the blame should lie with the murderer instead. Seeing them protect him only makes our guy's heart ache even more. Despite his friends' defense, the tragedy remains irreversible. Our boy clenches his clothes in silent agony, realizing he must find a way to face the storm that his one moment of mercy unleashed. Once a warm family memory, now turned into a cold funeral. The sudden passing of Secretary Young has left everyone in shock, with even the adults lost for words as the tragedy sinks in. The atmosphere is incredibly heavy as the group processes the loss. Looking at the familiar face now framed in a memorial photo, a deep sense of guilt and grief begins to take hold of everyone. News reports confirm the death of Secretary Young, leaving our boy and Dokyum in total shock. They never imagined the mentor, who helped them from the shadows, would meet such a tragic end. Meanwhile, the villain Chun Ja-wong is still arrogantly lashing out. But the teen knows the truth. Secretary Jung sacrificed himself to protect Yonu, and they can't let that sacrifice be in vain. Dokium analyzes the situation with a grim expression, noting that someone was trailing Secretary Jung last night. All clues point toward Huang Sihyuk, the man who never gets his own hands dirty. Right then, Sia Huang arrives in a black dress, bringing crucial evidence that confirms their suspicions. Facing the fallout of her family's schemes, her eyes burn with an unprecedented fury. To pinpoint the culprit, Sia uses map tracking features to find a lead. She reminds everyone that details matter, as even a simple phone unlock pattern can be the key to cracking the case. As the map traces reveal Secretary Jung's final movements, our boy and his comrades watch closely. They're ready to follow the trail and uncover the full truth behind that night's tragedy. The shadow of Yonu stabbing Secretary Jung continues to haunt everyone. Baek Dogium grimly reminds the group that nothing is ever certain in this world, and the truth is often far more complex than it appears. Doubts begin to surface. Could greed and betrayal be lurking in the shadows? After all, the human heart is unpredictable, especially within the cutthroat world of a chaebol where trust is a rare luxury. Meanwhile, the news broadcast chairman Huang Yang seeks public vow to use every resource to hunt down the perpetrator. Watching those pretentious faces on screen, our boys fall into deep thought. Despite the chaos, one thought becomes clear. If the Otram group is still searching so desperately, it means Yona hasn't been caught yet. As long as he's alive, there's still hope. Huang Xia recalls the hypocritical faces at the family dinner. Her father and brother looked more frustrated than grieved. Having seen the rot within her family, she is now more determined than ever to find her brother. Indeed, the impatient Huang Sihyuk is ramping up the pressure, desperate to silence Yonu before the police get to him. It has become a high-stakes race against time where every second counts. The problem is that Yonu has vanished like a ghost. Finding him in this vast city is nearly impossible. Just as the group hits a dead end, our boy looks to his silent comrades for a lead. At the critical moment, Siha drops a bombshell. Yonu's birthday is coming up. Secretary Jung always managed to find him on that day, and that specific location might be the final key to the mystery. Every year on his birthday, that kid heads to the charnel house to visit his mother. Meanwhile, Dajuan and his crew gather with serious expressions, waiting for the inevitable convergence of their paths. Elsewhere, our boy Gammon walks the streets, clearly weighed down by heavy thoughts. Despite his friend's best efforts to comfort him, the lingering guilt is still written all over his face. In a desperate attempt to cheer Gammon up, the group starts bickering over whether to head to karaoke. Even Mugia chimes in for an invite, momentarily shifting the heavy mood into something more comical. But the playfulness ends abruptly when they spot a figure at the end of the street. The lighthearted energy vanishes instantly because they know their target has finally arrived. The mysterious white-haired boy races through the sunset and finally pushes open the heavy doors of the charnel house. But just as he thinks he can breathe, a dangerous presence in the shadows locks onto him. The moment he enters, an ambush strikes and pins him to the ground. But the real shock comes when they tear at his hair, only for a wig to fall away, exposing Gammon's hidden identity in a stunning reveal. As his friends shout his name, the elaborate disguise completely crumbles. What is our boy Gammon actually planning? And has the person they truly need to protect already made a safe escape? The scene is pure chaos as the search is suddenly interrupted. A young man collapses in shock, and before anyone can process what's happening, an angry shout erupts from the crowd. A tattooed thug marches up, completely oblivious to the danger, and grabs our boy by the collar. It turns out he's a desperate influencer staging a fake assault for views, and he's livid that his content was ruined. Fed up with the harassment, Choi Mugia steps in and crushes the thug's arm in a vice grip. With a cold glare, he warns him that this pathetic stunt is interfering with a real investigation. Before the thug can even blink, our boy's aura shifts completely. He never hesitates to use force to protect his path. In this narrow corner, a clash of conviction and raw power begins. In an instant, the thug's world flips upside down, leaving him staring at the ceiling. Looking up at the cold, piercing gazes surrounding him, he finally realizes he didn't mess with ordinary students, but true monsters. Feeling the chilling bloodlust behind our boy's glasses, the thug doesn't even have time to scream before he's decimated by a massive impact. Amidst the spray of blood, he feels like he's having an out-of-body experience. Following the creed that a strong body builds a strong mind, our boy's combat instincts honed for the sake of his studies explode. This overwhelming strike instantly strips the thug of his arrogance. The battle ignites as our boy Yoon Gammon taps into his hidden martial arts talent. Using the forbidden techniques passed down from his uncle, Every step he takes carries explosive power, instantly grounding his opponent. Faced with this sudden, violent onslaught, the surrounding thugs are left stunned, their arrogance vanishing instantly. The entire street descends into a chaotic brawl, filled with screams and heavy impacts. Even covered in blood, Baek Do-gyum maintains his signature cold smirk. However, just as he prepares to finish his opponent, a lunatic in green leaps through the air with a shovel, launching a suicidal flank attack. Under the heavy blow, blood streaks down his face, and the atmosphere instantly freezes. Do-gyum slowly looks up with a murderous gaze that makes his attackers realize they've just crossed a very dangerous line. As the melee hits a stalemate, the self-proclaimed armored General Chai Sung-gun joins the fray. Fists clash against bodies with a dull thud on the wooden floor, forcing Do-gyum to stay sharp against this tougher assault. But this isn't just a regular fight, it's a textbook one-sided beating. Our boy charges up again, reciting his uncle's forbidden technique as he lands a massive punch that sends the arrogant ball thug flying. With one final heavy thud, the once boastful Wang Chunjil loses consciousness. Our boy stands amidst the wreckage, terrifyingly calm, having shown everyone the true meaning of revenge compensation with his fists. Staring at that blood-stained fist, the onlookers hold their breath in pure terror. While this peak confrontation has ended for now, the ripples it created are only just beginning to shake the foundations of the conglomerate families. With the fight over, Choi Mugyu adjusts his glasses and coldly tells the group to call an ambulance. Leaving the chaos behind, he makes a calm and stylish exit with his crew. Meanwhile, the city lights up as we shift focus to a karaoke bar called Music Bank. It seems everyone needs a place to unwind after such a heavy confrontation. Inside, the energy is wild as the guys mess around, even getting into a playful scuffle. Amidst the noise, our boy Gammon stays composed, staring at the screen deep in thought. Gammon holds the remote, but isn't picking songs. He's busy replaying past events in his head. His friends notice his distraction, and the mood begins to shift from playful to serious. The conversation turns to Yonu, the boy consumed by revenge. Despite knowing how dangerous he is, Gammon feels something is off, as if the truth is hidden beneath the surface. A teammate recalls the terrifying moment Yonu attacked. The blade had already sliced through their clothes, but the lethal blow missed just as their father rushed in. Revisiting the scene, Gammon calls for a pause. He realizes a key detail. Given Yonu's skills, he could have easily struck home, but instead, he chose to flee. Gammon reaches a startling conclusion. Perhaps Yonu hasn't actually killed anyone. If he's truly abandoned his weapon to start over, there might still be hope for redemption. Our boy Gammon has his own resolve. He wants to save Yonu from a life consumed by revenge, refusing to let him fall into Dajuan's cold hands because he still believes in the kid's goodness. Determined to find Yonu first, our boy shows off his incredible speed. Before his companions can even process the situation, he's already vanished down the hallway, moving faster than anyone expected. Suddenly, the group corners the terrified blogger Han-suk. Panicked and clearly guilty of something, he assumes the worst, thinking our boys have come specifically to settle the score with him. Desperate to save his own skin, Han-suk begs for mercy while dangling a carrot. He claims to have a secret method that can help the group track down and find Yonu's exact location. As our boy tries to excuse himself, he accidentally bumps into a heavily tattooed thug in the hallway. Meanwhile, Han-suk continues to babble about his plan, and the tension in the air begins to skyrocket. Meanwhile, in the shadows, the villains are celebrating their ill-gotten gains. Through ruthless financial scams, they've piled up mountains of cash, all built upon the suffering of innocent victims. These scarred thugs openly mock their victims, laughing at how easy it is to profit from human greed. This twisted arrogance is a chilling sign of the chaotic storm that's about to break. News travels fast. When Baek Do-gyum hears that some four-eyed nerd put one of their guys in the hospital, he can't help but laugh at the sheer absurdity of it all. That four-eyed kid is, of course, our boy Gammon. While the gang is busy plotting their revenge, they're starting to realize this student is anything but ordinary. To track their target, the gang corners the YouTuber Park Han-suk. They plan to hijack his platform and lure the kid out into a trap by spreading fake news. Terrified by the menacing thugs, Park Han-suk is forced to comply. But these criminals aren't just looking for cooperation, they're hungry for total control. Baek Do-gyum strikes like lightning, showing zero mercy. He uses brute force to tear through the chaos, leaving the terrified lackeys trembling in his wake. The room is thick with tension as Do-gyum's cold gaze sweeps across the group. Revenge is just the beginning. He's already looking for his next pawn. In a surprising twist, Dogium extends a tempting offer. Instead of total destruction, he tries to scout new talent, promising a life of luxury to anyone willing to join his dark world. Our boy was hoping for a civil conversation, but as soon as he hears about the insurance scams targeting the elderly, his expression shifts from curiosity to cold fury. Refusing to tolerate such scum, our boy shuts the guy down with a decisive strike. As the tension boils over, the various factions hidden in the room finally step into the light. In the middle of the standoff, the antagonist starts preaching about his twisted love. Disgusted by the hypocrisy, Choi Mugia loses his patience and leads the charge with a heavy punch. Lee Jun makes a grand entrance, clearing the path with his signature high-impact kicks. His legendary Lee Jun kick hits with such force that the enemy line crumbles instantly. Lee Jun goes into full beast mode, unleashing a flurry of heavy kicks that shatter the enemy's morale. Amidst the chaos and shockwaves, the opposing force is left in total disarray. After mopping up the grunts, Lee Jun pushes into the inner sanctum with a sharp gaze. Facing the struggling tattooed leader, he exudes a chilling pressure, ready to end this fight. Just as the enemy reaches for a remote in a final act of desperation, the scene shifts. A strange news broadcast suddenly takes over the screens, leaving everyone frozen in confusion. The battle reaches a fever pitch as Baekdokium finds himself in a brutal struggle. Every heavy blow carries lethal intent, turning the scene into a chaotic exchange of power. Under the crushing pressure of his opponent, Dokium barely holds on despite the visible pain. Meanwhile, Kim Si-in watches from the side, with a mysterious and unsettling smile. Suddenly, the tide turns for the worse. Our boy is pinned to the ground, unable to break free, before taking a vicious, direct kick to the face that leaves him reeling. As Dokium collapses from exhaustion, the indoor brawl finally settles. Looking at the aftermath, everyone present seems lost in their own thoughts, leaving the atmosphere incredibly tense. The scene shifts to a meeting under the night sky. Park Han-suk, looking for a big break, tries to strike a deal by offering exclusive footage for his channel. This secret information is hidden even from the higher-ups. The group realizes that by tailing the righteous Yoon Gamin, they can finally track down their elusive target. A mysterious figure smirks while planning the so-called capture the murderer operation. Meanwhile, Park is convinced this footage will be his ticket to a brand new life. Driven by greed, he believes this is his one shot at destiny. Under the cover of night, the hunt is officially on, and the stakes couldn't be higher. 2 days later at the Peaceful Land Memorial Park, a group waits in anticipation. Word is the kid they're looking for appears here every year at 9 a.m. sharp, and everyone is watching the clock. Park Han-suk is breaking a sweat, terrified the lead might be a bust. Meanwhile, our boy stays cool, even joking about hitting up karaoke once they wrap things up. Suddenly, the mood shifts. Our boy's gaze sharpens behind his glasses, as he senses an unwelcome presence closing in on their location through the somber park air. Sure enough, another faction arrives on motorcycles. Baekdokium, radiating pure menace, leads his crew to the park, proving they aren't the only ones hunting for Yonu. On the city streets, a stolen SUV tears through traffic. The thief stays calm despite the frantic calls from the owner, but his GPS reveals his goal is also peaceful land. The fated duel begins as our boy and Yem Dajuan run right into each other. As the two leaders lock eyes before the memorial, the entire world seems to fall silent. Standing before the stone, the two groups are at each other's throats. Someone recognizes our boy as the Four Eyes who messed with their plans before, and old grudges flare up instantly. The two groups run into each other again. Yem Dajuan's crew immediately recognizes the bespectacled Yoon Gamin, who tries to play it cool and asks what's really going on here. Dajuan's men are shocked and wary. They know Gamin's group's sudden appearance can't just be for volunteer work or spicy beef soup, they suspect a darker purpose. Still unaware of Gamin's true stance, Kong Hee quietly reveals she's crossed paths with him in Incheon before and knows from experience he's no lightweight. Meanwhile, Gamin's team quietly celebrates, thinking their spicy beef soup excuse actually worked. Their informant, Gong Sungmin, makes his appearance. Everyone is waiting. Today is the day Yona visits the memorial tower to honor his late mother. Meanwhile, Yona himself is already sprinting toward the location. Dajuan's team spots their target in the distance and starts to move. Baekdokium is almost ready to charge out, but Dajuan himself reaches out and firmly restrains him. Dajuan coolly reminds everyone to stay low-key to avoid police attention. Their aim is to quietly locate and retrieve Yonu, not start a riot. Hizu agrees, thinking a direct confrontation now is premature. Right then, they recognize the person giving Gammon information. It's the online creator Park Han-suk, who provided the key tip in the first place. The scene shifts to an indoor hallway, where Gong Sungmin appears to be urgently explaining something to a white-haired woman, mentioning he often follows his father here since he's homeschooled. The frame focuses on a white-haired man standing calmly to the side, who points out the unusual detail that the person they're looking for always walked around there alone like a beggar. Suddenly, the panel splits. One moment Gong Sungmin looks surprised, the next he's being grabbed forcibly by the head, leaning back in shock. The person gripping him is none other than the masked internet blogger Park Han-suk. Meanwhile, our boy Yim Da-jun and his red-haired companion have also arrived on the scene, quietly conversing. The red-haired companion rubs his chin thoughtfully, noting that staking out is usually a police tactic. Park Han-suk, losing patience, turns back to Gong Sungmin and presses him with a near-threatening tone, demanding to know if the kid mentioned any other specific place, like somewhere a General Chai might be. However, faced with Park Han-suk's mocking and aggressive demeanor, Gong Sungmin seems to be overwhelmed by even more painful memories, beginning to mutter to himself in anguish. It's then that the calmly observing Choi Mugya speaks up. Seeing the tormented Gong Sungmin, he gravely tells Yim Da-jun that this kid idolizes a figure like General Chai precisely because he was a victim of severe bullying. Choi argues that whether the idol is genuine or not, they should protect him as his seniors. Park Han-suk, however, just snorts with a malicious grin and retorts that this is a different situation. As he speaks, he seems to lose his last shred of patience and grabs Gong Sungmin by the chin, forcing his attention. Leaning close, his eyes filled with impatience and cruelty, Park Han-suk reveals his true nature. He finds no fun in waiting, only in actively hunting down prey and attacking it viciously. As the tension escalates drastically, the group suddenly notices that Choi Mugyu, who just defended Gong Sungmin moments ago, has quietly vanished without a trace. Where did he go? Meanwhile, not far away, a blond man in camo overalls, a mask, and glasses sits cross-armed alone in a corner of the building, clearly lying in wait. He's another hunter drawn here for Yonu. The columbarium area is proving to be far larger and more crowded than expected. Even unrelated youths on the scene are struck by its scale and ponder the heavy topic of death. An atmosphere of chaos continues to build. Yim Da-jun has clearly taken note of the various factions lurking outside, his expression growing colder. At this precise moment, Baek Do-gyum is also making contact with a mysteriously appeared orange-haired woman on her phone, making the whole situation even more tangled. What's the plan? Kong Hee-za asks the two dark-suited gang members, who have arrived at the annex of Pyongyang. They explain they posted people on every street for a quick response, but it's just a precaution. Yonu won't be coming to this building anyway. A black-haired man coolly assesses the situation. It might not be much, but any help is better than none. He asks if it's the same task force from last time, somewhat surprised they're still willing to work with them after the previous incident. Meanwhile, Baek Do-gyum, the family's second-in-command, chimes in. If they have a task force on standby, then Kong Hee-za and Nong should also be ready. In the distance, against a backdrop of mountains, two figures keep watch. Hearing the query, Kong Hee-za, who is about to leave, stops and turns to the two suited men. She delivers her crucial judgment. Yonu won't be coming to this building. She points in another direction, deciding they'll wait over there. Another member adds that Yonu's real target is the annex. The group immediately heads for the annex. This is an enshrinement place for people without family, or for those who, despite having family, cannot afford a proper funeral. Kong Hee-za falls into thought. If he needed money to place his mother here, she could have given it to him. So it's not a financial reason. Then what? The truth begins to surface. Baek Do-gyum explains that Yonu was her son, yet not truly her son. He's an illegitimate child, a shadow kid, with no birth certificate, no official record whatsoever. He can't go to school, he can't go to the hospital. And the biggest issue of all, another member picks up, his voice low, is that there will be no record of his death even when he dies. This means Yonu could be killed by his own father or brother at any moment and simply erased. Yet, he managed to survive on the streets for over. This realization makes the man in black-rimmed glasses jolt and look up sharply. At that very moment, they sense an intense surge of violent energy from nearby. Kong Hee-za's pupils contract sharply, a cold sweat forming on her brow. Someone cries out Yonu's name in anguish. Yim Da-jun instantly issues an order. Keep watch! Before the words have even fully left his lips, he leaps from a high point with unstoppable momentum, descending like a raging bull. Because he has only one goal: to kill that bastard with his own hands. With a savage, murderous intent, he plunges directly into the heart of the conflict. The story shifts back to a short while ago at the Peach House security office. Inside, the old guard is relaxing, completely absorbed in the soulful tunes playing on the TV, unaware of the approaching storm. Just then, a figure in a black cap walks in. It's our boy Yonu. Despite the scars on his face, his expression softens as he offers a quiet greeting to the old man. The old guard sighs about how fast time flies, and slides a silver key across the desk. It's the key to the memorial hall, where Yona comes every year to pay respects to his mother. Seeing the old man so disconnected from the world, Yona hesitantly asks if he's seen the news. The guard just smiles, saying at his age, as long as he has his music, nothing else matters. After thanking him, Yona takes the key and heads toward the quiet building alone. Pushing open the authorized personnel-only door, he takes a deep breath, preparing to face his painful memories. But the silence is shattered as someone in the dark screams murderer in terror. Yona's eyes sharpen instantly. Before even identifying the person, his combat instincts drive him to lunge forward. Just as the clash ignites, Yungamin suddenly appears in the hallway. Intervening with a powerful high kick, he looks coldly at the chaos, making an already tense situation even more complicated. Facing the twisted rumors, Choi Mugyu is clearly fuming. He can't believe those bastards are using fake videos and fraud to mess with the truth. But suddenly, the air turns heavy. Baek Do-gyum and his companions instantly sense danger, as a suffocating bloodlust begins to spread from the shadows. Wang Chunjil completely drops his facade, wearing a gruesome smirk as he descends into a state of murderous frenzy, shouting that he'll kill everyone. His movements are insanely fast, like a demon out of control. People are set flying like ragdolls as the scene descends into pure chaos. Even the battle-hardened Baek Do-gyum feels the pressure from such inhuman speed. The way the opponent switches directions mid-dash is terrifyingly unpredictable. Chunjil mocks their desperate dodging, and under the suffocating pressure, Mugyu's glasses actually crack. He realizes that these punches carry an unnatural weight. This level of combat is no longer a simple brawl, it's a life-and-death struggle. Do-gyum tries to find an opening, but the opponent's sheer ruthlessness is chilling. As blood splatters, everyone is frozen in shock. Despite taking damage, this monster is gripping our hero's hand even tighter. The true nightmare has just begun. The fight takes a brutal turn as Baek Do-gyum is slammed to the ground, bloodied and battered. Recognizing the danger, his allies quickly hoist him up to make a desperate escape from the fray. While the others retreat, a lone figure whispers into his comms, promising to follow soon. The shattered glasses on the blood-stained floor tell a story of a struggle that's far from over. Elsewhere, the clash intensifies as a fighter realizes his jiu-jitsu is being countered. The exchange of blows is relentless, with both sides trading sharp glares and heavy strikes in a deadly stalemate. Carrying his wounded comrade, an ally sprints across the open grounds with Siha by his side. They're not just running for safety, they're fully committed to helping Yanhwa seek his ultimate revenge. The mood shifts as the group drops a bombshell. Saving Yanhwa might require them to take down Siha's father. Caught between blood and justice, Siha struggles with the weight of an impossible choice. Before they can catch their breath, more allies gather on the rooftops. Seeing their formidable brothers battered and bruised sparks a mix of shock and a renewed, burning desire for payback. Hiding in the shadows, the group tries to play it cool while keeping a close eye on the chaos. Despite the nervous sweat, their shared goal is clear. They're here to find Yanhwa, no matter the risk. As everyone converges on the scene, a heavy silence falls over the group. The stage is set for a massive showdown, and the real battle for redemption is finally about to kick off. Tension is high as the enemy tells them to back off, but our red-haired friend just sneers, demanding an apology for interrupting his leader's precious study time. The conversation turns to the murder, with the enemy accusing Baek Do-gyum of protecting a killer. The moral dilemma of whether the ends justify the means hangs heavy in the air. Hearing the enemy dismiss their deep bond as just being close is the final straw. For this crew, those words are a direct insult to everything they stand for. Violence erupts instantly. With a roar about family, past traumas and current reality collide. They're willing to go through blood and fire to keep their promise to Yonu. Baek Do-gyum coldly surveys the chaos. As the informant trembles in fear, our boy Yim Do-gyun steps up with a sharp gaze, his presence signaling the start of a real counterattack.